Hi guys! So it is that time of the month in which I show you the books that I have acquired throughout the month. I tried really hard not to buy too many books, but somehow every month there seems to be a new book haul, whether it be through gifts from friends, maybe a couple of books I've treated myself to, or books that publishers have sent me that I'm excited to read. I'm certainly not complaining. All of the books in this haul I'm super excited for, and I'm also really excited to share them all with you guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. The first book I have was a gift, and it was a gift from my lovely friend Jen over at Jen V Campbell, whose channel I'll link down below, and that is Ali Smith's The Seer. This is just really gorgeous, simple Faber edition, and this is a play. It's Ali Smith's only published play. I have already loved and thoroughly enjoyed this play. It's the second piece of Ali Smith's work that I've read, and I really enjoyed it. And I've said before that although I enjoy plays, I far prefer to see them performed, and I always feel like I've lost something in reading it rather than seeing it. But I gave this play 5 out of 5 stars. This play, although I'm sure would be spectacular to see in person, loses nothing in the written format, and I enjoyed reading it so much. It's a kind of like weird, crossing the fourth wall, wacky play set in Scotland, where a couple live quite a boring life, and when the woman's sister comes to visit, they invite her in even though they know that she isn't her sister and she's just saying she is. Now, the next book was sent to me by the publisher, but I specifically requested it because I needed it in my life and I needed to share it with you guys, and that is Democracy, a graphic novel. The epic story of how an idea can change the world, and this is basically a graphic novel of the history of democracy and how it was invented in ancient Greece. So it's like all of the things that I love. It's a graphic novel, it has some non-fiction elements, it's set in antiquity, like I am so excited to read this one. It's published by Bloomsbury. It's also quite a chunker. This is what the illustrations are like. They're quite like cartoony comic book style, but they are a lot of fun, and it looks like there's a lot of storyline and information in here. So I'm really excited to get to this one. That is a book I did treat myself to, and I got this in the Notting Hill bookshop when I was in London, just as like a little treat, because I was in the bookshop and I'd never been in the Notting Hill bookshop before, and I was with my friend Joe. And that is The Collector by John Fowles, and this is in Vintage Classics edition, and this is about a strange young man who collects butterflies, but then he becomes obsessed with a young woman and decides to kidnap her, or shall we say collect her. So this sounds super creepy and intriguing, and I hear really good things about John Fowles' writings. I also went on quite a bit of a poetry binge this month. I have 3 poetry books here to show you. The first one is one that I needed. I had been meaning to pick up a copy of this for ages, and it is Sappho's works. I have a tiny little ATP classic of Sappho's work, which has some of her poems in it. I have a anthology of Greek poems which has some Sappho in it, but I have no just complete collection or near complete collection of Sappho's poetry, so I decided to finally pick up a copy, and this is an absolutely stunning copy published by the University of California Press, and just like look at that, it's stunning. I'm really happy to have this in my life, and Sappho is a female ancient Greek poet, but if you want to know more about her, I did a video on ancient poetry recently, so I'll link that down below. The next one is almost more like a pamphlet poetry book. It was $3.95 and it's very thin. It's Benjamin Zephaniah's The Little Book of Vegan Poems, explicit vegan lyrics. Benjamin Zephaniah is one of my favourite modern performance poets. I think he's an awesome person. I think his poetry is awesome, but he's just awesome. I kind of love the stuff he stands for and everything like that. And because he does children's poetry as well, he was one of the poets that kind of helped me cross that barrier from children's to adults poetry, because I liked to read a lot of children's poetry when I was a kid, and I think he's just fantastic, and I thought I would pick this one up because I own no physical copies of his work. The next one is a book of poetry I got second hand in Jen's bookshop, which has just closed down, which is very sad. But Jen worked in Ripping Yarn's bookshop in Highgate, London, and Lena and I went to visit before it closed down and picked up some books, and I bought this one second hand, which is Joe Shapcott's Of Mutability, and I actually know almost nothing about this. Jen just said it was really good, and I trust her judgment in poetry since she is the expert, I feel, so thought, hey, why not? And this is a nice Faber edition, and although it's a little bit wrinkled, it's still a really nice edition. I'm excited to experience some new poetry because I've really enjoyed the poetry recommendations Jen has given to me before. I did pick up another second-hand book in Ripping Yarns, and that is a beautiful Folio Society edition. If you know me, you know I love my Folio Societies, and it was only £5, and this is what it looks like. The actual box is a little bit scuffed, but it's not actually too bad at all, but the book inside is in perfect condition, and it is short stories from The Strand. Basically, The Strand was a magazine you might know Sherlock Holmes was first published in, and this just has a selection of stories that were first published in The Strand by loads of famous authors, people like H.G. Wells, Arthur Conan Doyle, Joseph Conrad, D.H. Lawrence, P.G. Wodehouse, Aldous Huxley, Rudyard Kipling, etc, etc. I'm really excited to read this one. Oh, and also that is the back. It's just got a little image on there as well. Whilst we're on the topic of Folio Society books, I must confess I did splurge a little this month when I was in London. In my various excursions to London bookshops, I did buy myself a special present, which was kind of my reward to myself for having finished my master's degree, having handed in my dissertation and essentially graduated, although I don't know what my grade is yet. And I went and bought myself my first ever brand new self-purchased Folio Society book. This is the bag it came in. And this one's in a really simple silver box. It's actually quite nice because the other one is gold. And this is actually a book I have read before, and it is The Little White Horse by Elizabeth Gouge. And this was one of my favourite children's books as a child. It is a classic, and this is what it looks like. It is simply stunning, and although I had a paperback copy of this when I was a kid, it has since disappeared from my life. I don't know where it's gone. Maybe when we moved house it disappeared, or I lent it to somebody and it disappeared. But now I have a new copy, and it's the most beautiful thing I have ever seen in my entire life. And it has gorgeous illustrations as well. And it's a bit of a children's magic realism mystery story. And it's actually one of J.K. Rowling's favourite children's books, if you're interested. I cannot recommend it more highly. It is an absolute favourite of mine, and although this book was a bit of a splurge, I am so happy it is in my life. One day I shall be a Folio Society member. You shall see. The next two books were sent to me by publishers. The first one was a kind of little surprise I wasn't expecting in the post, and it is from Penguin, and it is 7 Brief Lessons on Physics by Carlo Rovelli. And like the title implies, it is 7 Brief Lessons on Physics, and it is really stunning little book. It is got this gorgeous rose gold coppery colour all over the front, and on the back it's a little dust jacketless hardback. I don't know much about it, but from the inside it kind of implies it was first published in 2014, and this edition was published in 2015. And that's the original Italian edition as well, so it must be quite a recent book, so probably up to date and probably something my dad would be happy if I read, because I am not particularly scientific minded, but I do like these kind of little tidbity introductions, basics things. I think they're really key. I mean, I'm never going to be a physicist, but I think it is good to know things. It should be easily consumed. It's less than 100 pages, so really, yeah, awesome. And lastly is another book was sent to me by the publishers. I requested this one, and it is Fishnet, a novel by Kirsten Innes. Now, my friend Nicola over at Robotnik recommended this one to me. It's published by a Scottish publishers, which is Freight Books, and this one is about a woman whose sister has gone missing, and it's a few years later, and she learns her sister was actually working in the prostitution business before she went missing, and she basically wants to uncover what happened to her sister and gets involved in this world trying to discover the mystery. Nicola just said it was great, so I'm really excited to read this, and I've never had anything from Freight Books before. Their stuff is really well published. They've got lovely French flaps here, really thick, gorgeous feeling paper, and apparently only retails for $8.99. I mean, like, that's average paperback price, but I feel like $8.99 paperbacks are not usually as like thick and sturdy and nicely published as this, so I'm excited to check out more from Freight Books as well, and hopefully I will enjoy this one. But I'll link Nicola's channel down below so you can hear what her thoughts were on it. But those are all of the books I have to show you in this video. I hope you enjoyed this haul, and until next time guys, happy reading. I'll see you all again soon. Bye!